In this video, we'll create these rock sides without molding, without carving, using a no-cost material.
Hello and welcome to this video in which we will create rock sides for your model railroad or diorama or whatever you're building actually. The advantages with the method, as mentioned in the intro, is it's no carving in styrofoam, there is no molding involved, and the material we're going to use is no cost. So it's not even low cost, it's no cost. Yeah, and it all started out back in July. I was contacted by a guy called Erich. He was on a vacation here in Sweden, and he asked me, hey, can I drop by? Just say hi, and I said, yeah, sure, why not? Sounds like a great idea. Once here, he showed me some photos of his model railroad, and the rock sides he showed looked awesome, and I said, hey. How did you do them? And he said, well, I like all your videos and I want to, do like you do, collect materials from the nature and build my model railroad using that. But hey, I live in New York City, and the access to such materials is, well, somewhat limited. But when he went out one day, he looked at this, which was plenty of, and started to collect. And from that, he built the mountains. What it is? Watch here.
The base material we'll use to create this rock side is bark. This is typically used to cover the grounds of flower beds around hotels, in urban environments, and like this in a playground. And I collected a few pieces of this bark, and they look like this. First thing we're going to do is to cut them apart. So we get two halves which easily can be fitted onto a flat surface. And the good thing is that you get twice the amount of rock sides from the same amount of pieces. And here they are now. Okay, so these will be assembled to my test wall here. I crashed in with a camera into this rock side, so it has to be repaired. To do that, I covered it with bathroom tissues, which has been soaked into Elmer construction glue and water. When I'm fixing elements like these bark pieces to a rock side, I use a flexible type of construction glue. It's polymer based, so you just press the rock sides into that, and they will sit tightly. You don't have to support it in any way. I also use this to fix tracks to the track bed. It's a very good material. So now I got all of the rock pieces in place. Then it's time to plaster the surface so the rock pieces will blend in. To do this, we're using gypsum or Paris plaster. This is the same material, but half cost or less compared to what the manufacturers are supplying into the market as landscape plaster. How to mix this then? Well, we start with the water portion, which is 1 part, and then we sprinkle in 1.5 part of this Paris plaster. The trick here is to continue to spread or sprinkle this powder into the water until dry islands are formed of the white powder. When that happens, you see here is one island sticking up, but as we now approach the 1.5 part with gypsum, we'll see that we have remaining islands of white, and then the proportions is correct. Let this sit now for 1 minute, and then we'll mix this for another minute before we start to apply this. Now, when applying it on a rock side or a mountain side like this, I typically use a paintbrush. This is a round, wide paintbrush. And we have about 5 minutes to complete the plastering before the Paris plaster sets. So it's a kind of a quick process. The good thing is that we can get on with the painting quite quick. To do this, I'm using acrylic paint. The base paint is white, titanium white, which I mix with a portion of burnt umber. This will result in a very light brown color, almost like milk chocolate, and we don't want that, so we need to add 1 drop of black into the mix, and voila, then we have a natural warm gray color. All we need to do then is to mix in a thinner. This thinner in this bottle here is homemade. It's 1 part alcohol, isopropanol, and 9 part tap water. And with this, I'm painting the entire rock side and mountain, including the bark pieces. And when dry, it looks like this. It looks a bit glossy on top, but that's because the paint I'm using is not matte, it's satin. We will now create color variations in the surface. First paint off is a flat earth color from Vallejo. This is kind of similar to raw umber brown, and I'm just applying it randomly over the surface. Then I move over to the next color, which is burnt umber brown. This one has a bit more reddish tone with it. And same thing, I'm applying this using a soft brush randomly over the surface, just so I get this color variation. It looks a bit worrying at this point, but there's no need to worry. Now, to add contrast in this surface, we're also going to apply a black wash. This black wash is created using black acrylic paint, 1 part and 9 part water. And then I drop in isopropanol into this mix, which reduces the water tension and makes the paint, the resulting wash, the paint will flow better over the surface. Good idea is to hold a piece of bathroom tissue below the area you're painting. This way you avoid getting too many stains of this black wash on the carpet on your floor. The black wash covers the entire surface, then leave it to dry. Now we're gonna paint the last layer of this mountainside, and that is a method called dry brush. We're gonna use acrylic white paint. So I'm pouring a drop out in this mixing bin here, and I wetten a soft round brush. Then I wipe most off on a piece of paper next to it. Now the tiny amount of white still in that paintbrush will color the pieces of the rock which stands out, which are elevated, and this will enhance the contour of those objects. This is a very important piece of the process, because this really enhances the look of these rock sides. When you feel happy with the result, leave this to dry properly, because next we're gonna add static grass. The glue I'm using is PVA glue, so nothing fancy here. I have never actually seen any difference between the static grass glue and the PVA, which equals to Elmer construction glue for you guys in the US. The grass I'm applying here is a 2.5mm medium green grass, and I'm using a static grass applicator. If you don't have an applicator, you can use turf as well. Works fine. And after that, it's just to add bushes and trees per your preference. This depends a bit on where the rocks are located. And this is the final result. Yeah, I must say I was stunned to see how easy and the process was, and the amount of area you can cover quickly using this bark method. So just fantastic contribution from Erich there in New York.
All right, so fantastic method. I was stunned, and now I introduced it also here on my layout. And since the material is there already, you don't have to, mold or carve or do anything. You just glue or assemble these pieces in place. The method is really, really quick. You can cover large amount of rock sides using this quite quickly. And as shown in the tutorial, you paint it all in one shot, so there is not all that much fiddling around with all the details either. It's kind of quick. And this bark, I first thought, hey, that must be a fragile and a very absorbing material to work with, but no, it's actually pretty easy and straightforward. So yeah, I really like this. There will be more bark on my layout from now on. Yeah, did you know that this channel is supported by guys like Erich, who's patrons and supporting the channel on a monthly basis. So if you want to be one of the good guys and support the channel, think of this as magazine subscriptions, because a niche interest like model railroading, the payment system through YouTube will never really work. It works fine for cooking or fashion or something like that, music with the millions and millions of views, but for a channel like this, I need support. So if you want to be one of the good guys, get over to Patron, set up a support account there from, like $1-2 per month, or make a one-off donation using the PayPal dialog found in the video description below. And if you're not yet a subscriber of the channel, subscribe and enable that little bell, and you will get a notification once next video gets published. Until that happens, see you.